Hello friends, welcome back to Break Program. I'm Santosh Avsakar. We are presenting Insight Fellowship Program, as we all know, Advanced Analytical Problem Solving Expertise, and we are going through Six Sigma Green Belt certification. And over last few videos, we are in a major phase. We have almost done with first three steps of major phase, starting with converting problem into measurable characters through performance standard, then listing down probable causes with the help of fishbone diagram, that is step number 2. Now these causes which probably would impact the y, that is our problem. We want to reduce the problem, right? To reduce the problem, we have to find out and how to fix the causes. Six Sigma says we are not supposed to fix all the causes. We need to find out significant causes, and those significant causes will come through statistical testing. That's the foundation of Six Sigma, right? So to reach to that level, first of all, we have to list down probable causes. That's what we did through fishbone diagram. Then comes CI matrix. CI matrix is an opinion-based prioritization tool where we have a participants in brainstorming sessions. Once we are done with listing down the probable causes, we'll ask participant how many causes out of this list of probable causes, how many causes are highly controllable, highly severe and highly frequent, and based on this we further eliminate few of the excess, and then we are left with a final essence or extract of the list of potential or critical excess. So CI matrix help us to find out critical excess from the list of probable excess. So that's about CI matrix. Now we have done with the CI matrix based finding of the critical excess. Now what to do with that? That's what we're going to look into today's video. So let's go to next slide and try and understand it. Next slide, please. Right, so we have already discussed about this steps of define phase, measure phase. We are into fourth step, and that what is the fourth step after CI matrix based critical cause finding? What is the next step? Collect the data for project Y and critical causes. We are going to do this. This is a major phase data collection. So how are we going to do the data collection? Now, why we are doing the data collection, right? So in last video itself, we discussed about this. We want to prioritize excess based on statistical analysis or statistical inferencing, we call it, right? So statistics always need some data, and that is why we are going to collect the data for critical causes as well as project Y. Question is, how are we going to do that? To answer this question, let's go to the next slides or next few slides. Right. So step number 4, data collection of causes and metric. Metric is your project one. Data collection plan, DCP, is a tool that describes steps to be followed in gathering the data for Six Sigma project. In Six Sigma project, we collect data for both Y in major phase, of course, Y, that is problem, and X's, that is causes. Which causes? The causes which are the critical one, which we finalize into CI matrix. That's the previous step. So those causes. Let's go to next slide. Right, there are few things now here onward. We in case of data collection. So we are done with the fishbone diagram based root causes. The next step is segregating those causes across different 6 aims categories of fishbone diagramming. Of course, that's for manufacturing. For IT, we do have a different categories. Then we use CI matrix to come up with critical causes. So we're done over here. Now the very next thing is, we need to check, we need to collect the data, right? So shall we collect data for minimum 1 month? We need to collect data for 1 month, and 1 month period is as such is a big amount of time. Not necessarily every single time our senior management will allow to collect that much of data, allow to spare or spend that much of data I mean, that much of time for data collection. But, I mean, different reasons would be there. A, perhaps, when you collect data for a whole lot of 1 month, that may incur some cost to the organization, right? A, because time consumption, you're going to ask people to invest their time to collect the data, so that will come with efforts of, involvement, and effort involvement will always come with a cost. That is the one reason. Second reason could be like, there might be urgency they do have, client want given cost to or given problem to be fixed as early as possible. So that problem is so critical that company or senior management may not allow us additional 1 month for data collection. That is possible, but statistical testing, which is a core of Six Sigma, need data collection. So what to do in that case? So we do have two scenarios over here. Shall we collect data for minimum 1 month? Senior management may allow you, or senior management may not allow you. These are two conditions. So let's go through this part first. So when senior management allows you to collect data for 1 month, we'll collect 1 month data for project Y and causes. We believe this is, and we always suggest this is the highly recommended to collect data at least for 1 month. Then statistical data analysis based on root cause assessment of non-compliances. How to do on all those things, we're going to look into it very shortly in few upcoming videos. And of course, capability assessment based on major phase data. So capability assessment, what is capability assessment? What is it is going to, what are we going to do into capability assessment? We're going to look into it in our upcoming videos. So this is one angle, one way. Another way is when senior management is not allowing even 1 month for data collection, major phase data collection of root causes. This is because of urgency of problem resolution, as we already spoke. So statistical data analysis, we will do statistical data analysis based on experienced employees' opinion collection. So what we are going to do into that and how we're going to do it, of course, in very next video, we are going to look into that. And of course, once we are done with this, we have the capability assessment based on historical data. So this is what we're going to do. Please do remember, for any given Six Sigma project, we either follow this path or we follow this path. We don't follow both the path of data collection. So that's why we call it data collection strategy one. This is strategy one, and this is strategy two. Right? So either need to follow it. Highly recommended is this path. So I guess this is the data collection patterns, major phase, especially major phase data collection pattern. So let's go to the next slide to understand how we are going to collect the data for 1 month. That's what we're going to look into. So let's go to next slide, please. Major phase data collection strategy one, as we discussed. So let's go to next slide. Right, so we have already seen this pathway, right, of patterns of data collection. And right now we are in this particular part when senior management is allowing us to collect major phase data for project Y and critical excess or critical causes. So let's go to next slide and try and understand how are we going to collect the data. It's very, very simple thing. All we need to understand is to use the common sense and logic. That's it. Many times the problem comes, we come to the stage where we were able to find out the problem, we were able to find out the causes, but for statistical testing, data collection, how to do that data collection, and that's where most of them really get stuck, and we don't want that to happen. That is why, let's go through it as slowly as possible so that we will be able to understand it. The only thing I request you to remember, this is a very simple common sense when it comes to data collection. I don't know why people, who normally deploy Lean Six Sigma projects really find it, difficult to understand how to do the data collection. So let's go to this particular part. Right. Once we prioritize highly controllable and highly impactable causes from where? From CI matrix. We need to collect data for project Y, right? And causes, critical causes. So in our current case, project Y is PT non-compliance, right? So project Y and causes, we need to collect data for this. This is a major phase data collection. Well, following are the substeps, or I would say conditions we need to keep in the mind. If project Y is Y per shift, if we are collecting the project Y per shift, we got to start collecting data for project Y on shift wise basis. If project Y is project that is Y per day, we need to start collecting major phase data on day wise basis. And if it is Y per unit, per transaction, we will take an average of Y for a given shift, and that is how we are going to collect the data. So this is as simple as that. Once we understood these three substeps or these three conditions, I think rest is the easy part. Let's go to next slide. Right. So this is how our template data collection template will look alike, right? So column one is phase, which phase are we in right now? For which phase we are collecting data? Major phase. Column two is week, and of course we are collecting data for a given shift of a given day. So that day comes into which week. We would need this data of week, in future. So that is why we are maintaining these two columns, phase and week. So I'll just let you know when and how we need it. But we need to capture data in this particular format. Phase, this is which phase? Major phase. Day, we started collecting data for 9th of Jan 2022 for a PT non-compliance, that are current case, right? So which week it is? This is week number 3. Then which shift are we collecting data on 9th of January 2022? So shift number 1, shift number 2, shift number 3, 9th of Jan, 9th of Jan, 9th of Jan. Likewise, this is the column for shift. So phase, the column for phase, column for week, column for day, column for shift. And thereafter, we do have a column of number of unit process per shift. So how many number of units in that given shift the team has processed or manufactured for that matter. So we need to put the numbers over here. Then total time available in a shift. So how much time in seconds were available? If you could remember, in previous video, we mentioned that we do have 480 minutes. So how many seconds? 480 into 60 seconds. So it goes to 28,800 seconds in a shift. However, that is for one individual. What if in a given shift we do have 10 resources or 10 engineers are working? In that case, we will just multiply it by 10. So in this current case, in one shift, 10 team members were working. So 480 minutes into 60 seconds will give us 28,800 seconds is a time available for one individual. And when we have 10 individuals, so it is 28,800 into 10. That goes to 2,88,000. So in we can call it 288,000. That's what the total number of time available, and this will remain constant in this particular column, right? So we do have a total time available for a given shift, which is roughly 288,000 seconds, and this will remain constant, but number of unit process per shift will keep on changing. That's a variable changing number, and here this will remain constant. Now total processing time per unit will be this column divided by this column, right? This column divided by this column. So imagine we do have 288,000 seconds, and for a given shift, if you produce say 1,000 units, so 288,000 divided by 1,000, my total processing time per shift would be 288 seconds. And is it PT non-compliance? What was the target given by the client? Target was 270 seconds, right, per unit. Here we are getting 288 seconds. for per unit, right? It consumes 288 seconds per unit for a given shift. So this given shift will be non-compliance NC, right? So this is right now we're just looking into the template. So this is the column of PT non-compliance, which are binary. Why binary? In the sense non-compliance and compliance. There are only two options. So that is why it's binary 1-0. That's what we call it. So it's a PT non-compliance, either NC or C. We are going to put it based on number of units produced, right? Then on a horizontal maybe bar here row, you can find the causes x1, x2, x3 up to x8. Then you could read product changes are made too often and without a plan, human error, improper setup, lack of clear SOP. So likewise, all those causes, and from where we got these causes, these are the critical causes which we got from the CI matrix. So all those causes, we just put it horizontally, right? So this is what a template we do have. Prioritize causes from CI matrix, arrange in a horizontally in a data collection sheet, right here. And this is a blank major phase data collection sheet to be handed over to all three shift supervisors to add details. So once we prepare this particular Excel sheet or spreadsheet, we are going to hand it over to assistant manager, who will further hand it over to each shift supervisor. So every single day, a shift supervisor need to maintain these details. And by the end of data collection process in 30 days, we'll ask one of the supervisor, or maybe we'll ask assistant manager to collate all these three shifts together, shifts together, and then pass it on to us, to you especially. So because you are the green belt who are going to do the data analysis, and that is why collated sheets will reach to you, and then you will start doing the statistical analysis. Of course, that is a part of next phase. So in next few videos, we're going to look into how are we going to do statistical analysis. But for time being, this is about the template of data collection. So this is as simple. This is simplest form of data collection, and this is how we do collect the data. Let's move to the next slide. Right. So all we're supposed to do once we imagine yourself as a supervisor, for that matter, right, or assistant manager, all we're supposed to do, especially supervisors normally will do it. You will check whether project Y is meeting targets set by client for a given shift. If project Y is meeting client target, then given shift or given day is compliance. C, you just mark it with C. And if not, it is NC. So if average processing time will be less than 270 seconds, then it is compliance. If average processing time per unit for a given shift is more than 270 seconds, then that shift will be NC shift. It will be denoted or marked by NC. That is what we need to do. So that is the first thing. Of course, either team manager can do it, or he can pass it on to the assistant manager, or even supervisors can do it on shift-wise basis. But it will be responsibility of assistant manager or manager to ensure supervisor do collect this data for each and every shift for next 30 days. How much time a supervisor need to consume to collect this data on daily shift basis? Hardly 10 to 15 minutes, not more than 10 to 15 minutes, not even 10 to 15 minutes, less than 10 minutes, to be very honest. That's it. So that's about the first thing. Now for any NC shift or NC day, if you're maintaining given metric day-wise basis, then NC day. If you're maintaining your metric for shift-wise basis, per shift basis, then for any NC shift. So in our current case of PT non-compliance, we do capture processing time non-compliance per shift basis. So here NC shift, right? So for any NC shift, team manager need to investigate which critical cause or causes from CI matrix are making given shift a day in a given shift or given day NC. So imagine a given shift is NC shift, right? So there, if you could recall, we had, causes listed horizontally. All that supervisor or assistant manager need to do is to check or investigate which of the cause is influencing the given shift, so that given shift's processing time is beyond client given target. And by the way, we are doing this investigation only and only for NC shift and not for compliance shift, right? So if it is NC, we need to find out what are the causes, why this is NC, right? Why the given shift is NC. And we're not supposed to find causes abruptly. We do have a list of causes, the critical causes. All we need to check whether out of these 8 critical causes, which cause influence or which cause make this given shift NC. We need to check it, okay, whether this cause occur, whether the next cause occur, and that is why this given shift is NC. So that checking will be done, right? Then next thing is mark critical cause or causes that make a given shift or day NC with 1. If the supervisor find, okay, this is one of the cause which is leading to non-compliance for a given shift, he'll just denote or mark that cause as a 1 and rest of the causes as a 0. By the way, please do remember all these causes which we found from a CI matrix are highly severe, controllable, and most importantly, most frequent or highly frequent. It means possibilities there. If given shift is NC, either of these 8 causes is causing, or either of these 8 causes leading given shift to be non-compliance, right? So a simple thing is, if a supervisor finds a given critical cause is leading that shift to non-compliance or influencing, or let me use the word culprit. If given critical cause is a culprit which lead to the non-compliance, we'll just mention 1 over there, and for rest of the causes 0. So right now you might think I'm talking theoretically. So let's go to next slide and try and understand. Right. So take an example here. On a very first day, 9th of January, right? Shift number 1, total number of units produced were 1,152. Total available time, since 10 individuals are working, 2,88,000, that is 288,000 seconds were available. Total processing time is 2,88,000 divided by 1152. So this divided by this will give me this number 250, which is less than client given target of 270 seconds, and that is why this is C, compliance. So we are not going to do any investigation over here. So you could see blank over here. But next shift, we happen to produce only 1,059 products or parts with the same time available. So here, total processing time is this cell 288,000 divided by 1,059, which will give me 272, which is little higher than client given target of 270 seconds. So client allowed time limit or processing time per unit of 270 seconds. This is a bit higher, which is not NC. Now we got NC shift. We got to investigate why is a given shift NC. So out of these 8 frequently occurring causes, which we found through CI matrix, all we need to check which cause or which causes are culprit, means those are causing or making this given shift NC. Which are those causes? It might be 1 cause, it might be 2 causes, it might be all 8 causes. But that need to be ensured, or that need to be checked by the supervisor with assistant manager, right? So here you could see that for shift number 2 on 9th of Jan, Human error was the culprit, and second one was a frequent waiting for the approval that made to produce less number of units, and that ultimately lead to increase higher processing time per unit. Let me repeat: human error and here frequent waiting for approval causes to produce less number of units in a given shift, and that is why total processing time per unit is relatively higher than client given target of 270 seconds, and that is why the NC costs. Likewise, we'll continue with the third shift. The third supervisor from the third shift will also check it, and he also produced 1152 units. So it is almost 250 is a processing time per unit. This is compliance. So we are not going to do any investigation over here. It's a blank here. On the very next day, first shift, we produced 1025 units. Yesterday, we produced 1152 units, but here we produced 1025 units on 10th of January 2022 in a first shift. So total processing time per unit is 281, which is higher than 270, and that is why this shift is PT non-compliance. Now, what we need to do is, or what supervisor or assistant manager need to do is, they need to investigate why is that so, why given shift is NC. So they found that unclean working station and high time for raw material inspection really consumes lots of time, and that is why less number of units were produced, and that is why processing time per unit is higher, and that is why it is leading to NC. So these two causes are culprit here. Likewise, we'll continue collecting data for each and every shift. If it is an NC, we continue investigating which cause is leading this NC for each and every shift across 30 long days. So we might have 90 data points. 3 shifts per day and 30 days. That would be 30 into 90 data points. This is how we normally do the data collection. So let's go to next slide. So how long shall we collect measure phase data for both C and NC? We normally do collect it for minimum 1 month. So that's what we normally do collect it for. Just a moment. Right. So in current case study of project Y of reduction of processing time non-compliance, we followed the same path. So we collected it the same way. Let's see the data we collected based on strategy number 1. This is how we collected the data based on strategy number 1 for processing time non-compliance, the project of processing time non-compliance. Right? So let's see how we collected the data. What is the data normally we collected? So let's go to next slide. Right. So you could see this is how we collected data. Here you can see that in front of C there's a blank cells, but in front of NC we do found a few of the culprit X's. So we just put 1 or mark 1 to them, and for rest of them we just mark 0, 0, 0. Likewise, we did it for all shifts across 30 days. So this is how the data of major phase we have collected it for almost 30 days. So that's about the data collection. Yes, let's go to the quiz. The very first question over here is, once we started collecting major phase data for project Y, we check where project Y is meeting target value or not. If project Y is meeting target, then we mark given shift or a given day as compliance, that is C. If not, then non-compliant, that is NC. If it is meeting given target, given shift or given day, we call it compliance. C. And if it is not meeting, we call it non-compliance, and we denote or mark it with NC. True or false? The answer is absolutely true. So let's go to next question. Now, for any NC shift or NC day, team manager need to investigate which critical cause or causes from CI matrix are making given shift or day NC. So either team manager or your shift supervisor or assistant manager, or they can do it together as well, right? So let me read it out again. Now, for any NC shift or NC day, team manager with shift supervisor or assistant manager need to investigate which critical cause or causes from CI matrix are making given shift or day non-compliance. Is it true or false? And the answer is, it is true. So they need to investigate which are the culprit causes which lead to this given non-compliances. So let's go to next question. We mark critical cause or causes that make given shift or day NC with 1 and rest of causes with 0. And likewise, we will investigate all NCs and all Cs, that is compliances. So are we going to do the investigation for all NCs and all compliances, or all NCs and all Cs? The answer is no, that's the false. We don't do it. We don't investigate all NCs and all Cs. We only investigate NCs. And that is why, if you collected data, say for 30 long days, and if you're having say 3 shifts per day, so total number of shifts are like 90. Out of 90 shifts, say roughly 30, 35, maybe 40 shifts are NCs. So it's not all shifts are NCs. So for rest of 60, 55, 60 shifts, we don't need to do any investigation. Only for this NC shifts, that is roughly 30, 35, 40 shifts, you need to do the investigation. And that's why a team manager and assistant manager and even supervisor can collate together and try to come up with what actually went wrong, which caused really troubling and causing which X is causing this non-compliance, so they can investigate it further. So that's about question number 3. So this is where we're going to stop in this video. We need to continue with the data collection strategy number 2 on a very next video, so that you can just understand how we normally do collect data. A, when senior management is allowing us to collect data for 1 month. B, when there is urgency and they're not allowing us to collect data for a 1 month. So what needs to be done? How are we going to collect data which is needed for statistical assessment or statistical analysis? So I guess on that note, as I kept on requesting you, please do help us reach out to your friends, families, relatives, and people within your network. Let them know about BreathFX program. And if you find it beneficial, please let them know how beneficial it is to them. So we'd like to reach out to each one and every one of us to get benefited with this advanced analytical problem solving skill sets. So on that note, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe our YouTube channel of BreathFX. So thank you so very much. And on that note, Uttishta Bharata, Ma Bharati shall rise again in her full glory. But as always, before we end the session, let's go ahead and thank the technological support provided by technological companies. So we deeply appreciate following technological companies for the technological support. On this note, thank you so very much for your time. Let's meet up in the next video and try and understand the next strategy. Have a wonderful, wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much.